Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Danielle Colby finally breaks. The Fritz has been quiet. And it's a big deal, for people who, like American pickers, have been trying to guess when Frank will leave, and Danielle's mind for years. Now she's ready to talk about what happened. Danielle was done by Fritz and Mike Wolf. Take a side. This isn't a free choice. Talk. This is her side of the story, of real thoughts and feelings stay with you. Danielle Colby finally breaks the silence and backs up the claims. You'll find out what's been going on behind the scenes with the best picking team on TV. Let's jump. Danielle Colby's book, Roadside Beginnings, says didn't become famous on TV in 2010. When American Pickers began, she was just a friend helping Mike Wolf. And they were Fritz who hit the road, making cool holes in old Barnes things. Danielle stayed back in Iowa running the shop for old archaeology. She told them where they sold their finds. Phones found clues and made sure fans loved her because she kept things moving. As soon as I saw her tattoos, they made me smile. Way to keep things honest, but Danielle wasn't just there for looks. She was the Mike and was the one who held it all together. Frank was a big part of the shows. They had a lot of success as kids in Iowa, friends for years who love old stuff. Danielle saw how well Mike and she got along. Always the guy with big plans. Frank was talking about how to save history, less noisy and more focused on small things like how. They used to fight over an old toy that still worked. Mike wants a rusty sign, and Frank wants... It was fun to watch the motorbike part. When they called, Danielle would laugh. She from the road, making fun of who won the day. She liked being a part of their team, even though she wasn't in the van. In the beginning, it was easy. They'd drive in their white van. They picked going through other people's stuff for treasures. Danielle kept the store ready. She'd pay for anything they brought back. Listened to their stories about their trips to find an old sign or a beat-up bike and helped people find out what to do with it. Began going to the store to see her when I asked about Mike and Frank. It was interesting, but Danielle knew what was going on would never be easy. The show was things kept getting bigger and bigger, more important things. She met Mike and Frank. Mike was always Frank is moving forward with lots of ideas. Liked taking their time digging into the Danielle fit right in with the little things in the middle. She told Mike about his plans and went to see Frank when he called. They were tired of trusting her, and she did too. It felt like a small family to them, but even back then, she saw small signs of Frank would sometimes be quiet when he was in trouble. Mike would try too hard. Not much big yet, but signs of what might happen after TV takes off in the US. There was a lot of noise, and Danielle Colby was there when it took place. Began slowly. Mike had been throwing the idea for years to film things with and dragged Frank along with him. Getting dirty by going into old barns. Danielle helped dig up from the shop leads. For them, networks wouldn't say no. I thought no one saw two guys picking junk, but Mike wouldn't give up in 2010. That was it. History Channel took a chance, and 3.1 million people watched. The Danielle couldn't believe the first show. The store overnight turned into a zoo. A lot of fans came to see where the A's. If by magic, Danielle became a big deal that people saw her on TV. When asked for pictures, she'd smile and show them cool things around. Mike found it to be like a rusty gas pump. It was so much fun and crazy that she had to hire more people. To keep things going, the phone rang, non-stop people giving pictures. Fans asking. Danielle loved the story about Frank and Mike. Electricity, but Mike found it too much to take. Frank and I were living the wish they'd call her from different cities, excited about their hauls. Mike once, I couldn't stop looking at a big bright sign. To talk about it, Frank got an old put out the fire and bragged like Danielle would laugh if she got a prize. Slow down and get the shop ready for whatever. They pulled them in, but it wasn't easy for the show. No longer. They were shooting 250 days as she could. Spend all year long hours on the road. You could hear it in their voices. They were hit, but still going even though fame hit them. Mike leaned into it in a different way. Opened a store in Nashville. Off. People waited in line to see him. Danielle I thought it was cool that he was making his. Mark Frank didn't like being the center of attention. He stayed in Illinois and took care of his picking a fight. She'd tease him by saying, "You're the quiet star, huh?" He would grunt and change the subject. Danielle saw. They kept each other in check. "Frank, chill out." It worked on TV, and she has kept her home base steady. She also had fans who loved her style of tattoos. She'd wear cool clothes with a circus vibe. If you put pictures online, people will comment on them a lot. "You're the coolest," they'd say. Danielle ate it all up, and it made the long days bearable. Worth it. Like the strange doll Frank found, she would share little shop news with fans who went crazy, but she saw the show. It wasn't just them picking out. There were no longer crew plans. And big, it didn't feel like as much of an adventure because of the money. And the buzz kept getting stronger. By 2015 shows, cost $250,000 more than in the beginning. Danielle saw how much stress Mike was under. Frank set out to make every find a hit. To keep things honest, she'd hear. They sometimes fight over small things, like a Mike would say things like, "We need a." Frank would snap, "I'm not looking for your TV moment." Danielle stayed out of it, and instead worked on the shop. She liked being the calm one. They knew it would be a wild ride. Danielle was happy that the show was so big. Many people watched her every week as she sat. They sometimes looked back and were shocked at how far they'd come. Come from a small shop in Iowa to TV, there were screens everywhere. It felt fake, but everyone knew it couldn't last. Fame's tricky. It gives you a lot, but costs a lot stuff too. But she didn't say what yet. For now, she could feel something coming. She just shut down the shop and got it ready for, no matter what the next problem was. Colleen Danielle could tell that things were by. 2017, American Pickers was still a hit, but there was trouble behind the scenes. Making she wasn't picking, but she heard everything from Frank and Mike. That the show was big, and now there are a lot of teams working together. Mike puts a lot of money on the line, tried hard to make things even. More often, he would call her from Nashville chatting about fresh store concepts, and new discovers that Danielle liked his energy, but she could hear how stressed he was every episode to amaze people, which meant more work for everyone. Frank was unique, it seemed, like he was tired because he called less. Danielle knew he'd been. Having Crohn's disease makes his stomach hurt. It hurt a lot and was getting worse. They didn't talk about it much, but she would ask, "Are you okay out there?" He would reply, "Yeah." She wasn't pushy, she was just tired. He liked to keep to himself, but the crew told her stuff. Frank is missing days, and Danielle began her day on set looking rough. He loved picking, but his body hurt. Didn't keep up with the shop, kept her busy. People still came to ask about Mike and Frank. "Where is Frank these days?" they would say. Danielle would smile and say he was out. She didn't pick and leave it at that. Not to spread tales, but she saw the hints that Mike's calls to Frank got shorter, got busier, and the show was pulling them in. When Frank lost it, he called, she was angry about something from a distance. "He's making this into a," he moaned, "circus." Danielle listened and didn't pick a side. "I'm excited," she said. Frank huffed and hung. She didn't tell Mike it wasn't her when she woke up. Fight. But she remembered how they used to take a joke about that and don't fight about it. She wasn't sure if the show was real, worth it if it made them mess up and a big split, but she kept the shop open, as if everything were okay. Friends didn't see the problem. Yet the show's Mike and Frank were joking when they said it looked great, and finding gems, Danielle knew it, was changed to cover up the rough spots. She'd watch and think, that's not all of it. She didn't say anything though. Loved her job running the shop and stayed there. Mike would visit to avoid the drama. Frank wasn't always full of plans. She missed the old days a lot. When they were all together telling stories, it was clear by 2019 that something big was. Frank's health was getting worse as the coming. The crew rushed and missed more shots. Mike didn't give up, but Danielle could. She would hear him yelling and know he was mad, sigh while on the phone and wish Frank were here. She wasn't sure what to say about the show. A machine now, and wasn't going to stop for anyone. Danielle felt it was making things worse. She couldn't fix it. But she hoped Mike and Frank would fix it. Before it went off. Van Stops Rolling in March 2020 was Frank Fritz's last car's wheels came off. An episode of American Pickers aired, and then Danielle Colby learned that he was gone. From Mike. He called her one night. "Frank's done," he said, and she asked. Mike didn't have much to say. She wasn't coming back. Danielle didn't push. She could tell he was upset that she saw him. Frank saw it coming, but it still hurt. Since the beginning of this goofy laugh and his love of strange things, the van was moving without him and didn't feel right. Frank left his side. In the end, he told his son that he hadn't talked. "My back's a messed up," I told Mike 2 years later. He said Mike didn't even call. Danielle did not fully believe that. She had seen Mike move the chutes around when Frank was sick, but she understood why he had been hurting, and he might have needed more than planned. Changes, she didn't call him to make sure of that, wasn't her thing. She thought he'd reach out to fans went crazy when he didn't do what he wanted to do. Find out, why did Frank leave? They asked. Did Mike leave him? Asked people online. Danielle. She saw the posts but didn't say anything. The store open and showing pictures of old anything to get out of answering the questions. She didn't want to pick a side. Mike was. Frank was her friend and always had been. She also missed him and was sad that he was gone. Send Mike a text message asking, "How's it going?" He would say, "We're taking care of things." She didn't ask about Frank. It felt too real. Frank's Crohn's had gotten really bad and messy. Trips to the hospital in 2 years, plus rehab in 2020 for drinking, Danielle heard about. She didn't think he was. From the crew. A messed up pain hurts people. She remember him making fun of a find one time. All pumped up about that guy going away, and Mike kept shooting, which brought in new Danielle watched the shows with other people, which were good but not the same even if Frank had been there. They missed his vibe. Grumpy lately because she had to deal with a lot of chaos with the store still full of fans. And 2020 caught everyone off guard with the pandemic. Danielle kept it open when she could talk while wearing a mask. People asked about. Through the glass, Frank kept saying, "He's taking a break." To be evasive, she'd say she didn't. I wanted to lie. But I didn't have the mic put up a story online saying I'll miss Frank and calling him brother. Danielle read it and agreed with what Mike meant, but Frank's words stuck with her. He told his son that he wanted to second like Mike was the star, and he was. Danielle just got that Mike was the big dreamer. Frank's face was the everyday guy who picked small things that fans loved that she didn't think Mike pushed her. He saw how Frank might feel and stayed away from him. Mike's child was left behind at the show. She wished Frank would keep up. They had talked it over, but they didn't. Danielle kept her head down in the car. She had to stop rolling for Frank, deal with it. She looked at the shop her dancing, and her fans were thinking about her life. Money can stop jealousy, no matter what she knew Mike was hurt, but it didn't bother her, and Frank was also at his worst. She came and couldn't fix everything. Were only able to watch what turned out. Next, she wasn't ready to talk. Yet they had to wait longer for the first words from Danielle. The last time Colby spoke out was in July 2021, and it changes everything. She'd been stay away from friends and rumors since Frank left. Web users were crazy about her what's decide which side to take with Frank. So she took out her phone and took a selfie with Mike and shared it on Instagram. Is back on the road with my best friend and big brother who I fully back and support her, she wrote. She thought she was on Team Mike, but she wasn't. Done. She had more to say about Frank Fritz, she typed, until it became real. "I'm really sorry about Frank's death," she said on the show. "I'm so sad. Because of his problems, I have everything from the last 10 years. Danielle Colby backs up the claims, but not with a story about a big fight she'd seen. Frank take care of things related to health and maybe even more. And fans went crazy reading each and every word of what struggles. They asked her, but she didn't say it. Not to talk about other people, just to say what. She knew she had dropped a big line at that moment. Frank hurt himself a lot. She wrote that it had been hard to watch. I really hope Frank gets all the help he needs. He needs to get better after years of being sick that made people Danielle. She wasn't mad, but she was scared that she had seen Frank faded, and she felt bad about it. Don't blame him. She just hoped he'd. That was what she meant by get better. It's true what they say about trouble. It's not what you think, she said. She gave the only reason she posted. When I talk about this right now, I mean, because everyone is guessing about She said that my words are being used by other people, taken out of context in tabloids because they can't talk to me. Danielle was fed up, junk stories that made her feel bad silence. This is how I really feel, she. She also said, I hope everyone gets better. Got it straight from her, no reports. She was done letting other people talk, for her fans had a lot to say, and some loved. It's so real, Danielle, and other people were like, tell us more. They said she didn't care, wasn't telling all of her secrets, shop talks with Mike and Frank all the time. She chose Mike over all the other road calls because he had always been there for her, but she still cared about Frank, but her post wasn't about him. Big news. It was a peek that people could. You can guess what she said after that. What I wanted in life didn't end there. Danielle kept the shop full of excited customers. Still came and asked questions. She'd smile. Mike, just say, check my post and move on. She would cheer him on as he picked. When they were online, Frank was quiet, and she wasn't. She had done what she needed to do and was free to go. The air made her stand on the stories about a fight. She ended that was more serious, Frank's pain. Mike's push she quit fans can figure it out in peace. Damage done by Danielle's 2021 post-it got quiet, but it wasn't easy, Frank. Fritz wasn't on American Pickers, and Danielle Colby couldn't stop seeing the fallout. She didn't say much more on the web. Just pick out dance gear and keep it light. But she knew what was going on behind the scenes. Frank was in bad shape because he had Crohn's, been rough for a long time. She heard, I tried to get better, but it didn't work. Quick, Danielle didn't call him she. She thought he needed space and hoped he'd get through it. And Mike kept the show going. Danielle told him he was still alive, and he did. Sometimes look tired when you go to the shop. He'd smile and say, we're still picking. She'd nod and be glad he was still there. Fans asked her about Frank less. Some people were talking after her post, but she could hear the crew talking. Frank was having a bad time in the hospital. Danielle felt bad that she caused more trouble. Saw him carrying an old bike into when the shop once with a kid's grin that the guy was getting farther away when 2022 hit hard. Frank had a big, scary stroke. Danielle learned from a friend on the mic, dropped everything and went to check him out, but she didn't ask for specifics. I think Mike spent a lot of time there sitting by. He would bring old things to Frank's bed. Pictures of things they found together. Danielle thought that was cool. Even though it was quiet, Mike still cared. She didn't come over because they weren't close with Frank, but she watched it. Frank didn't get better quickly after he had a bad stroke and needed a lot of help afterward. And then, in October 2024, everything ended when Frank died. While she was away, Danielle heard from Mike. Messed up. He's gone, he said. She didn't know what to say, so she just listened. Mike told her he had been there until Thalas Day, taking things from there. When Danielle picked days, she felt a lump in her throat. She had known Frank for a long time, his quirks and how it felt to lose him. She didn't lose any of the show's parts. It only took a day to write a post about it. Fans probably didn't know half of what was going on. They heard Frank leave and saw him go. Danielle's post stayed, but not this Mike's. Quiet too. Just a quick word online about grieving for his brother Danielle. She didn't want to make a fuss. But the whispers began all over again, saying Mike left Frank, that fame broke up their friendship. She shook her. She had seen Mike stand up and seen Frank. It wasn't that easy to fight his body. The whole story about Danielle Colby finally ends. Breaks the silence on Fritz. and proves the claims that it's been months Frank's death, and she's tired of waiting. Doesn't show up for an interview. Tragedy. Just, her Frank's body gave out. Says, I saw it happen over the years. Everything Mike didn't push about Crohn's pain Frank had to tell him to stop. It's straight. Come on, Danielle, don't waste your time. Not about a fight, but about a guy who couldn't. Keep going. It's time to, she says with a nod. Tell everything. The small picture, this is for them, makes it clear Frank loved picking. She says that his health wouldn't let him. He was in and out of hospitals by 2018. Mike tried to help 17 times in 2 years. Frank was done after the shoots changed and waited. She had seen Frank wince on calls. Mike was stressed out about plans he didn't have. He quit because he didn't like it, she says. He quit because he wasn't able to do it. Fans lean in for the crazy news that it's true. Then she turns it over to Mike, who was stuck by he was, she says, after the accident. They paid their bills and brought old fines too. He was at the hospital when Frank Danielle isn't thinking. She knows it was from people close to them. She knew. She says Mike didn't talk about it much. He didn't have to, but he did. How she put an end to the feud stories. Mike wasn't the bad guy. She gets, just for a second, I've known them. She says that Frank has been the Mike, the quiet one who finds little gifts, was the dreamer putting away big things. That we had a great time together. Danielle smiles. Having to remember fame made the days hard, a lot of stress. But it wasn't hate that Frank's body just broke, so split them up, not upset or angry, just saying it. Like it is fans now know the whole story, and this is a big story that people wanted to blow out. Danielle doesn't backstab her while yelling. She says that it's not that interesting. He laughs a little and says Frank fought his Mike, fought to keep the health, not Mike. She had hints at this in Show Not Frank, 2021. But now that it's all out, I forgot to say. She says it wasn't more back then. Now that Frank is gone, it's not she's not. She's not here for hits, but for the truth. The interview was short, but it got the job done. They made something really cool, she says. American Pickers was their thing too, it's still going. Friends chasing junk because Mike and Frank live separate lives. Danielle hasn't shed any big tears in it. She backs up the reports with a long speech. Fans hear and feel it. Facts, not fluff. They don't have to guess anymore. She's given them thestory. From her own years of watching, she wraps it up with a simple, that's no big fight, just real life, she says. I'm happy for both of them. Danielle walks. Don't leave it there. Mike's still. She's picked up Frank's before, and she's said it all. It's not a trick. Ending. She's pleased with that, and hopes fans are happy that the whole story is out. She is the one who should tell Danielle. Colby finally told us the truth about the health of Frank on American Pickers is Mike's. So now it's clear that there will be no fights, just hard times and sadness at the What do you think of Danielle's? Does the story match what you thought? Drop it below and we'll check it every click. Subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for showing up.